Welcome to the You Can Man podcast, episode 61. I'm Josh.
I'm Tim.
And I'm Dave.
And on this week's episode, dangerous jobs in bathroom remodeling.
All right, guys, welcome back to the You Can Man podcast. This week, we got a mashup, two different topics, dangerous jobs and bathroom remodeling. Dangerous jobs one is going to be interesting to talk about. We had some,
some fireworks,
some a little bit of internet drama on our little corner of the internet on our not very many follows Instagram page,
right?
Account,
probably whatever. the best place for that,
right? So, anyways, we wanted to talk about that and address some garage door stuff in that, and then also bathroom remodeling, kind of taking a bird's eye view of bathroom remodeling and kind of getting into a little bit of some numbers. You're just starting to think about maybe remodeling your bathroom. So we're going to talk about things that you need to think through. What are some basic costs? What are some things, some snags that you might run into, and those sorts of things. So that's what we got to look forward to. Guys, how has your week been?
It's been good. It's turning very Groundhog Day-ish for coronavirus.
What? That happened a month ago.
I don't know. We've been pretty good for a month, and then this past week has been a little special. With I don't know if the kids are getting a little stir crazy or what. I mean, we try to go outside with them, but it's becoming a little more difficult than normal.
Yeah, I'm getting sick of talking about this, but for me, I think I go in waves where I get to the end of my rope and I feel like I'm just gonna burn the house down, and then I wake up a day or two later and I'm like, okay, like this is what we're doing, and I find my purpose and I keep going, but then the end of the rope comes again.
Okay. Right.
So it's like a cycle, whatever. I don't know.
Well, big news. Kennesaw Mountain National Battlefield Park is reopened.
When? Did you go today?
I didn't go today.
It was today.
Okay,
I was thinking about it.
Yesterday, this was something that tanned my hide. I went to, I guess it's a national park, but it's down by, so it's chaps my bottom, tans my hide, grinds my, anyway, whatever. Took the family on Mother's Day to go to a trail, walk along a trail along the river, Chattahoochee
You're trying
River.
to get arrested?
Yeah, I guess I was trying to. Well, I saw a bunch of social, what's it called when people
social distancing?
I respectfully disagree with this law, and I'm going to do what I want.
No.
What's the word I'm looking for? Yeah. Anyway, people were like, so the
civil disobedience?
Yeah, civil disobedience.
Okay.
So the parking lot is closed, but the street, it's an access highway.
You were not one of those people that pulled off on the side of the road that I'm thinking of.
Let me finish. So it's an access road along 285, right?
Oh, okay. Different road.
I mean, there were probably 50 cars that are just like bumped up on. They're like, I'm walking on this trail and I'm not going to take, I'm thinking, I want to do the same thing, but I also don't want a ticket. So whatever, we're just going to go find somewhere else. Place was closed. I was kind of mad about it because Georgia's reopened. Like everything's open back up.
That's federal.
I guess it is, but I need everybody to get on the same flipping page. You know what I'm talking about? Like, Can we all communicate and just decide what we're going to do here? Like, look, hold up. I know it's a pandemic, but I need people to figure it out. I need people to figure it out. Tim, you can go now.
Okay. So Kennesaw Mountain, there's the visitor center still closed. There's no bathrooms. There's no nothing, but they're still opening it back up. I'm planning on going Wednesday, I think. So I'll be there then. Man, I've missed it.
It's your park, man.
That's
your place.
I may or may not have run there 2 weeks ago, 11 miles.
Yeah.
May or may not.
Watch out. So, yeah, I mean, you can do that, especially if you're like Josh and you go out like Forrest Gump and just start running, and you don't have to take your car with you, right? So you don't have to park anywhere, and you just,
And there's office parks on the other side of the mountain that you can get to. But we don't have to worry about that because it's open now.
Yeah, and for our listeners who are out of the state and don't know, look it up. Google Kennesaw Mountain National Battlefield Park. There was a major Civil War battle there. That's why it's a battlefield park. And it's gorgeous. It's probably one of the best green spaces in all of Atlanta, I think. Anyhow, so another thing, guys, I've been running some ridiculous times per mile.
Yeah, you think you have.
That have been severely in question, we'll say.
Yeah.
So I even switched to, if you'll remember, a couple episodes back, Josh mentioned Strava or it didn't happen on our running episode. And Strava is kind of the pinnacle of the running apps.
It's like Facebook for runners, right? So it's like a social networking
But
sort of.
in order for it to be extremely accurate, you need to pair it with a GPS watch.
I agree.
That was the caveat I forgot to
So
mention.
I agree with that, but I don't understand because you're taking your phone with you that has it doesn't have GPS capabilities.
It does.
It does.
All right, so why I don't understand
Here's
why it
the thing.
can't be accurate.
I looked it up. And look, I'm not a tech guy. You can shut me down all day. I'll listen. From what I can tell, the phones are just simply not as accurate in two ways. The mostly being because they don't update position as frequently.
Gotcha.
As you go longer and longer distances, it becomes more inaccurate. Like the inaccuracies kind of accumulate over time.
Why is it that I can pull up Google Maps and that joker's like pinpoint? It's right there.
Well, it gets
I
you.
agree.
Google Maps will get you within that like 3 to 5 meters or whatever, which is like,
Right.
10 or 15 feet. But again, it's the moving over time that's the problem, because you could be on one side of that circle at some point, and then when it hits you again, now you're on the close side of the different area
That makes
it
no
thinks
sense.
you're in.
Why
So-
can't these running apps, and maybe they do this, why can't it calculate it after the fact? Like double check itself.
Well, because then you're just talking about old school mileage and stopwatch like that.
Well, that's what I'm
So
saying.
don't have the app. The app is designed that you can like use it while you're like the Nike app specifically. They like want you to be able to like wear it on your sleeve and like look at it while you're moving and stuff.
Now,
And
I will say this, the Strava app, and I'm sure there's a function that I can make this happen, but on the Nike app, it was the default that it would always announce when I've hit a mile, when I've hit every mile, it would hit, and it would come up and say that. The Strava app does not do that. I'm sure that I could probably set it to where it tells me that,
yeah,
but I think I did a lot better not knowing that.
it could be a true story because
Mentally,
that is a
something
factor.
about that, because I would be like waiting to hear, and I'd just be like, how have I not?
right.
How am I not
I
at
got to
3
go
miles
faster
yet?
to get to my next mile.
Exactly. Yeah. And so this way I'm just maybe setting my pace. Okay. So I just hit under 7-minute miles today. If the app was actually correct. So this is what we got going on our text thread. We've got to get me at a track.
Either get you a track or just get you into the year 2020 and get you like a running watch.
Right.
So that you can accurately.
But even if, guys, I'm running like 7-minute, 30-second miles.
If you're sub 8 miles, like 3 miles plus, I'm impressed.
Yeah, never being a runner before and you've been doing it for 6 months. Yeah.
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 I do like the idea of us going out to a track and me being in like a track suit and just standing there and timing Tim and
Yes.
screaming at him like,
Yes, let's do
suck it up, Buttercup.
I ran the other day and I ran past our good friend Ernie's house and he saw me as I was running by and he came out of his front door. He's like, like yelling at me. So
Was that hubcap still in his front yard? 'Cause,
I did not notice
Did that
that.
leave your car?
No, I just noticed I ran by his house too.
Yeah.
And there was a Toyota hubcap.
Okay, so when we go to the track, I hope we can all go.
We'll announce it on the page.
And let's take a video. I don't even care. I got some short shorts. I don't even care.
Oh, we got to do it.
And we'll take a video and post it on the IG.
All right.
Totally.
Yeah, I looked up on some website. I don't know what it was. And it said that I was basically running an average of what a 16 to 19-year-old was running.
There you go.
Definitely made sure to tell my wife that.
Yeah. No, that's something to brag about.
No, look, like I said, sub 8 anything, and even with the margin of error, you're sub 8 at that distance. That's impressive,
Cool.
especially for a guy who doesn't run
Especially
all
for
the
you,
time.
Tim.
Especially for someone like you, Tim. That's what we're saying.
No doubt. No doubt.
It's good.
Still continuing on my loft bed project. I'm deep into SketchUp. You may remember me mentioning, I think it was last episode, that I'm planning dual loft beds for my girls. They are, almost 7 and 5 now. Yeah, I've got to do SketchUp before I do a project like this, because if I just tried to get into it without that, ridiculousness, because this way I can design it, I can show my wife, and she can verify everything. And then that way we don't have mid-project changes and you can see everything 3D, how it's going to be. and I can even get all my measurements. I could probably pre-cut a ton of stuff too, doing the SketchUp instead of taking all that time going through. So I will keep you guys posted on that. We'll definitely be doing, I don't know if I'm going to do a YouTube video on this build or not. I'm not quite sure. I will definitely be doing a blog post about it. So there's that. I already took apart their old beds, put the mattresses on the floor. So we're getting ready, geared up.
Forcing it.
To start building. Okay, guys, let's get into this topic today. First off, dangerous jobs. Okay, now we're talking about me changing my torsion spring. I went from a single torsion spring to a dual torsion spring. Was that just last episode?
For your garage door.
Yep.
It was last episode.
We had to actually bail you out of Instagram jail, of social media jail.
Right.
Yeah.
We posted, of course, like we always do, a little photo from, our episode. And Josh, like the good Instagrammer he is, he tagged some stuff. And let's just say a group of folks who just happen to be professional garage door installers happened to see those hashtags and they made their opinion known.
Well, they didn't take too kindly to it. And if we're honest, okay, we didn't disclose that. Listen, this is it's a little bit more of a risky job, and you're taking on.
I think we did.
Well, what can be said is we are free Americans, and we believe that if you want to be stupid, we can be stupid. But yes, we mentioned people getting hurt doing torsion springs on the podcast.
We mentioned the YouTube video where the dude had the melon, and he said this is what can happen.
Now, did we kind of jokingly go around that? Maybe. And did I not put a disclaimer on our post? I did not. And that's probably a mistake. And that's actually what our response was, because we literally had 6 or 7 different professional garage door installers. I won't tell you the name of their cool club, but they ganged up. They literally came all pouring into the page. They even left a poor review on our podcast.
Yeah, we got a 1-star review from one of those jokers.
It's the first one, right?
First
1-star.
Free country. They're allowed to do
happen.
that.
Well, I want to say too that we collectively made the decision that we're not going to delete those comments and we're going to leave them because people are smart and they can decide what they want. And we left them up there. So feel free to go read all the comments. We did not delete any of them.
And that was our response, is truly thank you for making this known. This is, part of you telling us how dangerous this job is part of our listeners doing their research.
Exactly.
And we'll just use it as part of a growing experience. We talk about all kinds of stuff on here, and yes, a lot of them have risks. I mean, when we did an episode and mentioned chainsaws, no one came to our group and said we needed to be, no one needs to listen to these guys because chainsaws are dangerous.
Exactly.
And so
I think we should talk.
I had.
Yeah, we should totally talk about that because there's other very dangerous things. Whenever I go,
ladders are the most dangerous tool, by the way.
Of course. Or when I go to jack up my car to change the oil. That's very dangerous.
Right.
But if you'll notice, when I've talked about that in the past, what have I said?
Harbor Freight jack stands.
Right.
Straight
of
from
course. But, you put that thing on jack stands and you get out and you shake that car violently to see if you can push it over.
Sure.
If you can't push it over, you're probably good.
Right.
And then I also reposition the jack another spot just as a fail-safe. So when I was doing the garage doors, number one, I did my research. And also I stayed clear of that spring and I knew the dangers behind it. Now, like Josh said, did we communicate as clearly as possible how dangerous that job is? Maybe we didn't do such a good job with that, and we could certainly have done a better job with that. However, we still stand by the fact that you can do this yourself.
Agreed.
I did it myself. And look, that's the premise of You Can Man. Yep. What one man can do, you can do as well with a little help from your friends. In my case, YouTube, and the proper know-how. In my case, YouTube. Take that for what you will, but that's where we stand, and that's where we will always stand. And if there is a dangerous job, we want you guys to still do it. We don't want you to shy away from it.
And if we talk about a job that's dangerous and we fail to mention the danger, let us know that too. We're average dudes. Like none of us are pros. Dave is a professional structural engineer.
Whoa,
okay.
whoa.
Other than that, like nobody has any certifications in anything else, you know,
Right.
and we're here to learn.
And I will say also that, look, we're going to come across this plenty more times in the future. And we are grown adults and we can agree to disagree. Imagine that. We can have different opinions.
We probably should have been shut down,
I
according
know.
to the internet.
So, especially on our Facebook group page, you know, we're gonna have disagreements. People are gonna say you should never do that, and I'm gonna say,
Like
well,
change your own
I just
oil.
did.
Yeah, don't change your own oil. It's
Yeah.
coming from Dave.
Right? Look, you take a huge risk driving your car every day, but you still do it, and you do it within reason, and you do it safely.
And if you're in Georgia, you can do it just by taking an online test. You don't even have to.
Yeah, you don't even have to take a driver's test now. So there's that. Anyways, we just wanted to take a few minutes to address that because we felt like, we probably should address
We want to
that.
own what we can own, and then everything else can
Exactly
be what it is. Yeah.
Exactly. And all of our listeners know that we around this table are just average Joes. We are not professionals. We never claim to be professionals. We're just average dudes, except Dave. Dave is a professional engineer.
Take it easy, everybody.
So Dave is the only professional here. But
right.
other than Dave, that's the professional engineer. Dave's
So uncomfortable.
Anyways, you worked hard for that, man. Just own it.
I did.
Just accept it, okay?
Thank you.
Except for Dave, we are just average Joes. Did we
I
sufficiently?
think we closed that out.
Okay,
Yeah,
we
pretty good.
close that out. Okay, on to bathroom remodeling. Now, we're not going to go super into depth here, but we wanted to give just a little bit of time to do an overview. So if you're that guy that's your wife, significant other is saying, hey, I really want that hall bath done. It looks horrible. It's from 1970 and we got to do something about it. And you just have no idea and you're trying to wrap your head around it. This segment of the show is for you.
And we kind of represent all spectrums here, where Josh, the resident pro over here of bathroom remodels, you've done a couple of them,
Rank
right?
amateur. Yeah.
Yeah, all the way down to the studs.
Yep.
I think both times. I've never done a remodel. Okay, I don't even think I've ever tiled before. I used to break.
It's the worst.
I used to break tiles in my backyard when I was a kid. Anyway, that's a story for another day. So we definitely represent,
You're
people
so
with
hardcore, Dave.
Dude, I was so hard, man. Look, those tiles, bare knuckle it.
Oh, with your fist?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, with my fist.
You just
straight
really
up.
throwing them on the ground.
Such a dangerous thing, Dave. You should not do that.
Yeah, it just killed those tiles. Anyway, what I'm saying is we have all different spectrums here as far as what each of us have done in that regard.
Yeah, because I haven't done a full remodel. I mean, I've changed toilets. I've definitely done demo work, but I have not done. I'm about to do it though. A good friend of ours is wanting me to help him do some of that. But
Okay, so yeah, on bathrooms, you can spend tons of money, you can spend hardly any money. What do you need to do? What do you need to think about? All of us, well, at least Tim and I live in ranches, like typical 60s ranch in Georgia. Our bathrooms, master bathrooms at least, are like 4x8 or maybe 5x8. I guess it's like a piece of plywood and a little bit more.
right,
And
and
that's crazy when you think about it.
that's what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah.
Kind of just that
Small footprint.
very small
Full
to
bath.
maybe mid-size full bath.
Yeah. So you can, I mean, if you hire a professional that does amazing work, like the Keystone Carpenter, who we had on a while back, he's going to charge for even a small footprint bathroom. If he's going all the way down to the studs, I mean, you're in for 15 or 20 grand.
Yeah, you can spend
no
as
doubt.
much money as you want.
And as you get bigger, I mean, you're just tack on the money. And that's because he takes the time, thinks everything through. Every wall is true. Every floor is perfectly flat. Everything's level. Everything's done to code.
Yeah,
everything's gorgeous.
He's doing that remodel on the bathroom that's going to look pristine in probably 30 years.
Yes, and
gonna
when he leaves, you can put the pictures in a magazine. Like, I mean, that's how his stuff is just showroom. And so that's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is, I've got a few $1,000s, and that's kind of for me. That's the bottom. Like, if you just want to paint, if you want to like paint your vanity, paint your walls,
Change the toilet.
just give a refresh. Yeah. Then maybe, $1,000. Like you can get in and out $1,000 easy. $2,000 or $3,000, you're getting into more like, let's replace the vanity with one of the nice, like furniture looking vanities, with the nicer
cabinet
bowl with the cabinet underneath it, replace the toilet.
Let's talk about, because I'm thinking through, okay, I'm ripping out the old vanity. And if it's an older bathroom, let's just say it's at least 25-ish or years or older. As far as plumbing is concerned, do I need to be concerned about changing those valves on my shutoff valves? Because I would think if you're going into it, you might want to think about doing that.
Yeah. I mean, everything is compounds on itself. The more stuff you take apart, the more you're going to need to put back together and think about. So you can do a bathroom, like you can cap off all the plumbing temporarily, or you can just leave the valves. I mean, it just becomes does the new vanity accept where those valves are coming out of the wall?
Well, that's what I'm
Things like
saying.
that.
I'm saying if you have an issue, okay, so if you change that vanity out and you're planning on that vanity being there for the next, I don't know, 10, maybe 15 years, you're not going to be able to access those valves with that vanity in place, right? So those are one of the considerations. Do you have to do that? No, you don't.
Sure.
But if you're replacing a toilet and you're replacing the vanity, let's go ahead and build in changing out those valves on those shutoff valves. So, and if you guys don't know what I mean, go to your bathroom now, open the cabinet up underneath the sink, and you should, if you don't, you got problems. You should see 2 shutoff valves, one for the hot, one for the cold. You should also see down by your toilet a separate shutoff. Now, some toilets run the shutoff off the cold water line from under the sink. I think that's sometimes the case, I think. But you should have 3 different ones. And that's what we're talking about, changing out those old valves while you're at it.
Yeah. So I mentioned high end, low end, and then there's the middle. And the middle is kind of where you want to be careful if you're hiring somebody, because if you're hiring somebody to do a full bathroom remodel, and I'm talking about new tile, new fixtures, new vanity toilet, tiling the shower. If someone's telling you, even if you have one of the small footprint bathrooms, that they are going to do this job for like $6,500, $7,000, you need to be real careful about what you're getting into, because bathrooms are expensive, like kitchens, because they include everything. There's tile work, there's electrical, there's lighting, there's plumbing, there's the drains. I mean, there's HVAC, like everything in that small space. And that's why the price tag's so high per square foot. Again, just be real leery about those middle of the road. Like if you have a few $1,000s to spend and a contractor comes to you and says, "Oh, I'll do it for $5,000, full bathroom remodel," you're not going to be happy.
It's going to be tough to make that happen.
I've skimped on tile work before and had problems, like paid for it. Like 3 or 4 years later, had to redo a bunch of tile work because I went cheap. Like I haggled, and this is just separate conversation, but contractors that will haggle with you and like get real low below their original number, you don't want them, because they don't have the power to walk away, which means they don't have other jobs lined up.
They're
the
not
busy
already,
guys. They can walk away.
They're
from
not
their
already
number.
in demand.
Yeah. The busy guys don't have to haggle.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk too about, as we were discussing the show prior to the show, we were talking about things like rotten floor joists. Mm-hmm. So if you have a house that's at least 20, I mean, it could be young. I mean, it could be newer than this, but I'm going to say in the 20, 25 plus year range, there's a very good possibility that you had water issues in the past. So think about a previous owner that had kids, they're dumping water out of the bath and all this stuff. Well, you don't see evidence of that now.
Or there's a hairline. Yeah, there's a hairline crack.
Exactly.
Yeah, water's going to find a way.
Yeah.
Generally, underneath your tub or your shower, water's going to find a way over time, over 20, 30 years. You're probably going to have a little bit of rot down there.
Right. Especially if you're over a crawl space, because you're not going under there all the time and looking at the shape of these joists. Now, if you're in a basement, or if you have a basement, well, you're probably going to see evidences of that from underneath, because you can see it all and you go down there. But if you're on a crawl space, you're not going to notice that. And that's one of those things that you start ripping up that tile and then you're like, oh, what's the soft spot? Let me take off a little bit more. Oh, okay. Well, now I got to replace the subfloor. Then you get into the subfloor and they're like, oh, actually this whole joist is rotten. And now I've got to sister a joist up to this. And now it's not really very much money we're talking about. Now, if you're having somebody else do it, yes, for sure, it's a lot of money. But if you're doing it yourself, the materials are next.
Right. It's just a labor issue. The labor goes way up. And yeah, materials are cheap. Like to replace a joist, not a big deal. So, I mean, if you see that and you're doing it yourself, it's not the end of the world. It's just going to take you longer to do the job the right way. But that's something to consider if you're in a really old house. Once you start getting into that tile, pulling that up, considering the age again, you may have water issues. And I mean, but all three, I've done three bathrooms, 2 different houses, all of them joist rotted, like it's right between the toilet and the bathtub. Just right where no one can get to. Like if there's water spilled, no one reaches back there to
just sits there.
Yeah. So it just sits and seeps through. So yeah, that's something to consider. If you're pulling up tile, you may be getting into subfloor issues.
Right. Let's talk too quickly about the way that they used to lay tile, because I think a lot of people don't understand that they used to just lay. It's more or less this super thick layer of concrete. It's more or less like a concrete slab that they've laid. So if you're going in to demo a thing like this, just be prepared that it is some back-breaking work.
Yeah. If you're in a 60s ranch in the South, I mean, you're going to have that 3-inch, 2-inch layer of mortar, concrete, whatever. They even recess the subfloor so that
to account for
the
that.
wood floors are even with it. So it's weird. Like the structure is even different.
Well, and that's another consideration because you're going to have floor level issues because the way the tile is done now, you're likely not going to get up to the level of floor that you have in the rest of your house. So you're likely going to have to lay another layer of subfloor on top of
sister your joists up higher.
You could do that, but that would require taking out the
actual subfloor.
Subfloor. So anyways, that's just another consideration. Even on the walls where this tile, they use this just really heavy, I don't know, heavy, but wire lathe. And that's what they would put the mortar bed into that. And it's just a headache. I mean, it's
bulletproof. I mean, it holds up over time.
No doubt.
50 years. I mean, both of the bathrooms in my house, 50 years old. There was damage underneath that, but you couldn't feel a soft spot in the floor. Maybe I think in one of the bathrooms I could, but other than that, it seemed like a pretty solid floor still.
Oh, yeah. Our bathrooms are still in great shape. Our hall bath, other than the fact that it's lavender, it's pristine. I mean, that thing is
frozen in time.
It looks great.
You got to get that out in one piece because that's in demand right now.
The lavender tub.
Yep.
So we had a lavender toilet. It was all matching. So we had the lavender sink,
awesome.
The toilet, the tub. And the previous owner said that they wanted the toilet. So I had set it outside and it just sat outside for like a couple days and they just never came and got it. So sorry to all my neighbors, which Josh was not my neighbor at the time. I just had a random purple toilet.
They were like,
outside.
We want to take the toilet with us.
They wanted the toilet. I don't know.
They're people want those now. Those pristine 60s look, odd color.
I hope I'll be able to get it out. I mean, it's cast iron. So Josh, I remember helping you get the cast iron tub, I think out of the flip house that you did.
Olive green.
Yeah. And so a method to get those out sometimes involves literally breaking the thing up into lots of different pieces. And you think, how am I going to break cast iron? Well, no, it can be brittle if you hit it hard enough.
Yep.
And so that is how you actually have to get those things out sometimes because they literally would bring that in.
They were like 300 pounds.
Yeah. And then they would just kind of build on top of that or so. I don't know.
Yeah. They'd set it in place and then mortar around it. Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes you literally got to get a massive sledgehammer in there and just break the thing apart.
So a couple other things that I mean, that's probably the biggest, once you go down in the floor, that's kind of the biggest thing where you're just going to start uncovering all kinds of stuff. If let's say your tile's in good shape and you just want a refresh, like you feel like your floor is solid, your bathtub looks fine. You could do a refresh of the vanity, like I mentioned. Now, if it's a raised vanity and the footprint of the vanity doesn't match the old one, then you could have an issue with your flooring, what that looks like as far as transitioning under the new vanity. But if the footprint matches, you can get a taller vanity if you wish. I know most vanities, especially a bunch of
I need that
80s,
man.
90s houses,
Yeah,
like super short.
Never tall enough.
You can paint the existing vanity. You can retop it. You can buy for very cheap a new. You can go to a granite place and have a scrap piece left over that they'll sell you for nothing, and have that installed on top to update the look of it, quartz, whatever you want.
What about reglazing? Because we had a question about that on our Facebook group. And it seemed like the consensus was, yes, you can do it yourself.
But go ahead and pay the guy.
The guy. It's not an issue. You guys know that we're all about doing stuff yourself.
Yeah.
But it sounded like it was an issue of, yes, you could do it yourself, but it's one of those things that takes a lot of practice to get really, really right.
Yeah.
And it has everything to do with the prep work.
Yeah.
And so a couple people chimed in. They were like, yeah, you could do it yourself, but definitely just go ahead and pay somebody. In fact, wasn't it like one of your family members or something had that
My mom's
done?
had it done way back 30 years ago. They had it done, but more recently, folks were saying, "Oh yeah, I think it was like $350 or something, or not $300
that's
bucks
worth it."
to just because the guy's a pro, he can churn out 10 in a day, but you as an amateur are not going to do as good of a job. So, he makes money and you save time. Yeah, reglazing a tub, retiling around the tub could be a way to go if you don't live in one of these super old houses that has the crazy mortar bed all the way around the wall.
Right.
You can just pop out the old tiles. If it's like a house from the 90s, maybe just pop off the old tiles. Do your research on YouTube to prepare the surface for new tile going up. But there's a lot of ways you can update a bathroom
For not a whole lot of
not a
money.
whole lot of money, and without getting into the floor. And if you're not changing the footprint, that's another thing. If you have visions of changing the footprint, what I mean is moving fixtures around.
Oh, yeah.
Now you're into full gut mode, and you're
You got to
by
you got to
yourself.
take it down to the studs. Like, I'm hopefully going to be doing that in our master bath, where my wife wants to literally move the toilet into where one of our closets is now.
It's a
A
job.
water closet. How about that?
Yeah, there you go. So that's going to involve a lot of stuff that I don't know about, but you know what? I'm going to do my research because I'm a good you can man.
That's right. Make sure you vent that bathroom too. I always recommend that. My brother's been on the Facebook group showing us how
Now,
he
when you
vented
say
his
vent,
bathrooms.
you're not talking about a vent stack like plumbing. You're talking about
I'm not talking about
moving the
HVAC.
air.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about plumbing. I'm talking about the exhaust fan through the ceiling.
which is a great point, because a lot of older houses did not have that at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, mine doesn't have it.
Yeah, the house my brother lives in, I think, was built in 79 or 80. Like, it's not super old, but no vents and no exhaust fans, I should say, in either bathroom. He vented them both through the roof like a champ, and it's going good. So always do that as an update. Yeah, there's a lot you can get into, but like I said, you need to be concerned about that middle of the ground price point on some contractors, because that is where guys will get you, because in and out for under 6,000 or 7,000. And again, I'm using numbers that are based in our area. I know prices are way more expensive up north typically,
Right.
but
And if any of you guys listening, if you're thinking about getting into a bathroom remodel, take a little short video of it and post it on our Facebook group, because there's lots of guys that have done tons of that stuff before. And we should be able to give you a solid idea of, that's maybe a $3,000 job if you do it yourself, or something like this. Or you might expect to pay, X amount of dollars for tile work here and there. So take advantage of that. That's what our Facebook group there is for, to learn from other people.
yeah. And if you haven't yet, check out the rules on our group. We're getting so big that like some things are becoming a little bit out of our hands, like all the time. We can't see everything that happens on the group. So we don't want this to turn into any kind of like contractors forum where like everyone is telling everyone else like the right way and the wrong way, and you should do this and you should not do this, and this is illegal and this is legal and you need a permit. Like, we're not there. We're like average people sharing ideas, best practices. And we just ask you, don't be that guy that's like, Mr. I know everything. I've been doing this forever.
Yeah, you can do
My
that.
way is the
You
only
can
way.
do that in a very respectful way,
Yep.
though. We don't want you to shy away
No,
from
we
your
want-
expertise. We want that for sure.
Watch your tone, man. That's all
Just
I'm
be,
saying.
be cool. Just be cool, man.
Be cool.
Yeah, but the Facebook group page at its core is I really feel like a place for encouragement and to bounce ideas off other folks.
I've just been super impressed. Like all the stuff. I mean, the past 3 weeks that the group's been growing, and I mean, just everything that all these different types of people are into, their hobbies, and like what they can knock out in a weekend. I saw like an awesome planter.
I saw that.
Using Home Depot buckets, like a portable planter. I don't know what exactly you call it. We've got people that are super into cars, doing car remodeling and restoring, just all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I think we're going to wrap up today's show. Josh, I think, has the segment for us this week. So we'll be back right after the break.
This episode is sponsored by 1776 United. 1776 United is a patriotic and historically inspired lifestyle brand. They make the best patriotic shirts and apparel on the market today. I personally own many of their products, and if you want to don patriotic gear without looking gaudy, check them out on Instagram, Facebook, and at 1776united.com.
All right, guys, welcome back. Josh, what you got for us? Does it involve someone dying or getting really hurt?
Maimed or dismembered?
Yeah, backed by popular demand. And I mean, this may or may not be our number one most requested segment, is the ones I do, but we'll see. It's I know it's not blade banter.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, we're going to do one of these. So you guys, I'm sure everyone, all of our listeners are familiar with rock and roll. Not even necessarily rock and roll, but bands, like musicians and plane crashes. Like there's been a lot of loss. There's been a lot of loss
it's
around.
It's a jet-setting lifestyle, right?
Yeah, Buddy Holly, right?
John Denver,
and Buddy Holly, right? That's the
Stevie
right
Ray Vaughan.
Yes, and Leonard Skinner. I mean, there's so many you can't even. They're just super prolific groups, right? Well, one that is well known in like rock and roll, like if you're hardcore into rock and roll, you totally know this story, at least like the headline. But I'm going to get into the details of this one particular plane crash, and it's one of the most sadly like rock and roll plane crashes you could ever do. Like if you're going to have a plane crash, this is the rock and roll way to do it, right? Like it's the trashing of the hotel room. Okay. As far as plane crashes go. Okay. So a lot of you have probably heard of Ozzy Osbourne, right?
Yes.
Like the British.
The guy who eats the bats.
He ate a bat. Oh, maybe he started coronavirus.
The guy that you're like, how are you still alive?
Yes,
seriously.
Yeah. And it's Sharon's
crazy
his wife, right? Sharon's the wife.
You'll see him and you're like, no.
Right.
I'm pretty sure he died 10 years ago.
And he had that show. They had their own reality, the Osbournes, right? Fascinating dude and family. Ozzy Osbourne had a band, and he used to be a member of Black Sabbath. And then he went out on his own. And when he went out on his own, he hired a guitarist. And again, some scholars of rock and roll, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but he hired a guitarist. And the guitarist was Randy Rhoads. Randy used to play in a group you've probably heard of called Quiet Riot. He starts playing for Ozzy Osbourne. He played on some prolific tracks like Crazy Train. We all know that, especially if you're an Atlanta Braves fan. That was Chipper Jones walk-up music.
Come on.
He played on Mr. Crowley, like just epic guitar riffs, like amazing songs, right? So this guy is awesome. And he even talked about going, like after he was done with Ozzy Osbourne, going to college to get a classical guitar degree, like super legit guitar player, obviously. So in 1982, they played a show at the Knoxville Coliseum, and they were headed to Orlando, Florida. Well, they stopped over. They took a tour bus like the bands do. They stopped at Flying Baron Estates in Leesburg, Florida, which was like a big property that actually had a landing strip on it. I'm guessing some like rich dude, the Calhoun Brothers bus company actually owned the property. And they stayed there the night. And on the property was, like I said, an airstrip, a couple of helicopters, an airplane. Well, the tour bus driver of Ozzy Osbourne's band was also a private pilot. Now, rock and rollers being rock and rollers were doing some stuff on the bus.
Obviously.
And illicit drugs, cocaine. Mr. Bus Driver is like, I'm going to be Mr. Pilot.
Yeah,
also.
he's like, we're going to commandeer that plane.
Yeah, they get up early, or they probably didn't get up.
No, they
let's
didn't
be
get
honest.
up. Yeah.
They stayed up all night. Early in the morning, sun's coming up. There's band members still sleeping on the bus, and Mr. Pilot is like, I'm going to get in a plane. And so he goes, he's a private pilot. He gets in the plane. He talks two folks into getting on the plane with him. And
was he like, I'm going to buzz the tower, a.k.a. the tour bus, and just get everybody all riled up?
Yeah. So he's like, hey, he gets the keyboardist and he gets the tour manager. He's like, you guys are coming with me. And so they go up there and, they're just doing a little fly around of the property. He's still jacked up on cocaine, though. So he's like, hey, let's wake up. I think it was the drummer. Let's wake up Tommy.
Doesn't matter.
Let's wake up Tommy. So they start buzzing, just coming lower and lower and lower, just doing some crazy low passes over this bus to try to wake the guy up because they're being funny. Well, they do a couple passes and then they're like, okay, that's good. Like we land, we're good. Everyone's still living. And he's like, hey, I want to go up again. Anybody else game? Anybody else want to go again? Well, the makeup artist, her name is Rachel Youngblood. She's going to go up. Now, apparently she's got like a real bad heart condition that everyone was aware of. And so he said, I'm going to take it easy because she's coming. Like, we're going to be cool.
Oh, she took him out of his element.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't flying the way he knows how to fly.
Right. So he's like, we're going to do an easy flight. Now, Randy Rhoads, the guitarist who we're talking about here, he was super nervous about flying. He didn't like it. But the guy said, we're going to take it easy because Rachel's coming. So he gets in the plane. And he really wanted to take some photographs from the air. So he goes up in the plane. They start buzzing the bus again. On, I believe, like the third pass at the bus, they are so low that a wing of the aircraft clips the bus.
So they weren't taking it easy.
So hard that two of the passengers without seatbelts actually exit partially through the windshield.
No.
Okay.
And the plane continues on and crashes into like the garage portion of this big house of the property that they're on. You can look up these pictures on the internet. Sets everything ablaze. Everything burns. Only identifiable by medical records and jewelry. Okay.
No, everybody
on the plane.
Even the people ejected through the windshield.
Right. 3 people on the plane, including sadly Randy Rhoads.
Who sounds like
deceased.
He sounds like a pro wrestler.
Who's the wrestler? Who is it?
Dusty Rhoads.
Dusty Rhoads.
Okay.
Anyway, that is like, I mean, talk about a way to go. Like if you're in rock and roll and have access to a plane and you do cocaine all night.
Clipping a tour bus hopped up on cocaine is the way.
Don't do drugs, kids. Also, crazy more details came out. What's crazy is like Ozzy Osbourne was there. Like Sharon Osbourne was there.
And they don't remember a thing.
Well, he called the police. Like he was trying to like get, like apparently it was like a super slow response time to get people out there. What's really crazy is that the bus driver's estranged wife, it sounds like, was touring with the band as well. And they had like super beefs. Everyone, mostly everyone, like the consensus is that he was so like angry at her that like after the first set of passes, she was like inside or in the bus or something. But like when he went up with the second group of people, she had stepped just outside the bus. And a lot of people honestly think, because one guy that was on the ground, that was in the band on the ground near the tour bus, could see the plane coming, could see two of the guys fighting over the controls. Like he could see a struggle going on inside the plane, and the plane was like rocking back and forth like crazy. Multiple people think that he was trying to kill his wife with the airplane.
Wow.
That's awful.
And so just like way crazy.
When did this happen?
Wacky story. 1982.
Okay.
And anyway, we'll leave it. There's a lot more details if you want to look it up on the internet. But there's a lot of plane crashes. Most of them are like sad, like weather, like bad conditions, all this stuff. This was just straight up a dude got high on cocaine and just blasted it into a tour bus, which is nuts.
It is crazy.
How sad.
No,
Kids,
don't do drugs.
don't do drugs.
That's all I got.
Okay,
You're
thanks,
welcome.
Josh. Another just really morbid, just excellent segment there,
But we
Josh.
love them.
Things that happen.
Hey, you lived up. Every bit of that.
That's right.
Okay. Good. And then I'll be back next week with something about gardening. I don't know. Anyhow. Okay, guys. Thanks so much for joining us on the You Can Man podcast. We really appreciate you taking time out of your day to give us a listen. Hey, why don't you take just a little bit more time and leave us a review, please, especially since we got the 1-star
We
review.
got to cancel out the 1-star.
We got to get those reviews up.
I know.
It's the rookie numbers.
So let's show those guys, hey, the 1-star review ain't going to do nothing for the You Can Man Army.
That's right.
We're going to get some more 5-star reviews in there. So please do that. We will catch you guys next time.